Hey, this is Derek from Kikfit Training, and we're here today with another episode of the Become Your Own Gym series discussing nutrition. Let me first break down the sections of nutrition that you need to be concerned with when you're looking at a plate of food. First are the macronutrients: proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and water. Next is what you get out of those macronutrients, which is the micronutrients: vitamins, minerals, amino acids. So let me discuss first the three grades of food that you want to choose from. Class number one, the best type, would be the actual vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, and legumes that actually have a root system and come from the earth. Why is that? Because we're actually trying to eat the earth and the sun. And here's what I mean. When the vegetable, fruit, or grains or nuts are growing, they are getting photosynthesis or electromagnetic energy from the sun and are absorbing the vitamins and minerals from the earth. So you're getting the energy from the sun and the nutrition from the earth: Father, Son, Mother, Earth. So you are deriving what is a complete form of who you already are within that vegetable or plant. That's class A. Class B would be the animal that eats that vegetable or plant, then you eat that animal. You're still going to get some nutrition, but you're getting a second source of it. And the reason why we do that is sometimes it's more convenient to have that as a source versus finding the vegetable and the plants. The last class, class 3, which you want to avoid, would be the predator that eats the animal that eats the plant. So you can see how that goes. The further away from the actual source, the less nutritious it's going to be for you. That said, let's go over the macronutrients and what they actually do or don't do. First, protein. What does it do? It rebuilds cells, muscle and brain cells in particular, as well as nerve cells. For our conversation, because this is about fitness, health, and wellness, let's discuss the muscle and brain cells. They are constantly being broken down and repaired every single day, week, month, and year. Every day, millions of cells. Every week, billions of cells. Every year, trillions of cells, until eventually, after 3 to 5 years, all 100 trillion or more cells are repaired and rebuilt. Depending on your lifestyle, nutrition, exercise habits, and your thinking process, they're either going to be better, the same, or worse. It's up to you, and that is the whole point of exercising and eating right. Secondly is going to be the carbohydrates. That's another name for sugar. Carbohydrates aren't a bad thing if you pick the right choice. The best choice, of course, is a low glycemic natural source through the vegetables, grains, also the fruits, things that have fiber in them that slow down the absorption of the sugar within the carbohydrate. Also, because it's a natural source, when you pick these vegetables or fruits, you're going to have what's called phytonutrients, alive nutrients for the alive body. The other choice that you have is the refined sugars and starches that are not alive and is actually non-fibrous. That makes it a high glycemic carbohydrate, which means your body absorbs it too fast. And we tend to eat too much of it at one time. Because of that, your body is then forced to release insulin to try to grab that sugar and pull it into the muscle, the brain cells, the nerve cells, and all the other cells that it goes to. The challenge with that is typically not enough insulin can be released to do that. So the overflow of the carbohydrates is then stored as body fat. So keep that in mind, folks. Excess of anything that you don't store into your body and utilize is stored as fat, including fat-free foods. So very important element. Lastly is the fats that we talked about. Are there good fats? Are there bad fats? And absolutely there are. The bad fats obviously is the saturated fats that you're cutting off the ends of the meats or the animal proteins. That you don't want. What is a good fat is called a monounsaturated fatty acids, or MUFA. The MUFAs are actually very beneficial for your body because it regulates hormones as well as slows down the absorption of the carbohydrates that you just ate with your meal. So only 3 things can slow down carbohydrate absorption or lower that index of the glycemic index. And that is the fiber within the carbohydrate, the lean protein, and unsaturated fat. So if you have a meal with all 3 with lots of water, that would be a perfect meal because within that is all the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that your body actually needs for healthy nutrition. Now, let's go into the storage units or the fuel tanks where you're going to get your energy from with these foods. I call this the MLB, your muscles, liver, and blood. The muscles obviously are going to store glycogen or glucose and oxygen, and they're going to mix together to create the energy. Just like in your car, you have gasoline and oxygen, glucose and oxygen, same idea, similar. Secondly is going to be in your liver. The liver actually is the main fuel tank for your brain, direct supply to your brain. If you don't top off the liver, you're going to start getting a little fuzzy in your way of thinking, getting a little dizzy, and you're going to want to take a nap very often. So topping off the liver supply is critically important. And the last one is B, blood supply. So the immediate blood sugar levels are important for immediate function. So the MLB must be topped off throughout the day in 3 to 5 small meals versus just once a day. The challenge with that is people typically wait until they're hungry or thirsty before they top off their body with water, which they need, and also with these foods through the MLB system. If you don't wait for symptoms and you schedule your meals in small amounts and do what's called grazing throughout the day, you will be less likely to store fat and more likely to burn fat, which is exactly what people want. You will be more likely to gain muscle versus lose muscle. You're more likely to regenerate brain cells instead of losing them. Very critical component. So it is an important factor to understand that nutrition is going to be your best medicine or your worst poison, depending on if you pick natural or artificial sources. If you schedule your meals and plan appropriately, or you react to hunger and thirst. So we want to make sure that we have intelligence as we do this and move in the direction that we want towards our goals by not being generic about this particular field. Be specific. This nutrition endeavor, after a while, through repetition, will become automatic for you, where you won't have to think about it so much. In the beginning, if you're not used to this, it will be a bit of a chore somewhat. But like anything else, the more you do it, the more competent you'll get and the more confidence you'll have in making better choices for your body and your mind. So in a nutshell, folks, when you're eating nutrition for wellness sake, you want to make sure you pick natural sources of the proteins, carbs, and fats that are going to give you the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, along with plenty of water, before you're hungry, before you're thirsty, in small amounts and grazing to top off the MLB, your muscle, liver, and blood. And that is how you have the perfect nutrition for wellness function. I'm Derek from Kikfit. We'll see you next time with another episode of the Become Your Own Gym series.